How should my child and I get started in upcycling? How should my child... Welcome to Epic Mom Life. I am your host, Kara Peterson. This show is sponsored by The Possum's Tale, a unique book adventure for your 6 to 12-year-old child. Let's jump into today's show. Children can learn to appreciate the environment and have a lot of fun through arts and crafts. Upcycling with the kids. Upcycling is the practice of transforming old, unused, and broken items into something new and useful. It is different from recycling because upcycling is, in its essence, a way to reduce waste, save money, and get creative with, this is the key, lasting projects. Children can be taught to upcycle in fun ways. They can create upcycling crafts by thinking of useful new ways to fill needs in their lives from old materials. The focus of this article is not to tell you all of the crafts you can make with the leftover stuff that you have around the house. You can look on Pinterest for a ton of those ideas. Many consider this upcycling. However, I do not. Instead, the purpose of this article is to show you the difference between recycling and upcycling and to give you some ideas for upcycling with your children. So what is upcycling? The goal of upcycling is to minimize environmental impact and to turn old, unused, or broken items into useful products. What is recycling? Recycling is usually the conversion of waste materials that would be thrown away anyway into new materials and objects. Is one, recycling or upcycling, better than the other? No, both are very important. They sound very similar, and when you look at the crafts that are listed all over the internet, in my opinion, people are confusing the two. But one uses things that are still serviceable into and converts them into a different, long-lasting, usable product. The other, which is recycling, uses trash items that often need to be remanufactured in order to be made into another product. A great, big idea of this is plastic water bottles turned into rugs. We actually have rugs in our home that are made from water bottles. What are the benefits of upcycling? When you teach your children various ways to upcycle, you show them the value of reducing waste, conserving resources, and using creativity. You are also encouraging them to look at every item and ponder, is there a need, and can this product fill that need or be used differently? What materials can be used for upcycling? Almost any item can be used. However, it is important to look at what the end product will be. The reason I say this is because I looked up upcycling crafts with kids before writing this article. A perfect, horrible example, in my opinion, of upcycling is using paper plates to make crafts. None of the crafts I saw served a purpose except for it's a great creativity and time waster with the kid. But the paper plate that was upcycled already had a use. It was supposed to be used as a plate, and it no longer served that use. Yet many upcycling with the kids articles used paper plates. Now, if the paper plate used for that craft had already been used and then washed, this would be a great example of recycling. It's trash that is being repurposed. So does that make sense? An example that I love, and this one kind of is a hybrid, it borders both, is paper that is made into seeded paper. This is also trash because you're getting all of your scrap paper or already used paper that you don't need anymore in the recycle bin. However, it has a long-term use because once you make it into the pulp, and you can see a whole bunch of this on the internet, it's really cool. You make it into the pulp and you lay it out, you sprinkle the seeds in it. Well, then as it decomposes, it grows plants, and that's its long-lasting use. How should my child and I get started in upcycling? There are two ways to do this. One, you can collect environment-friendly materials and items that can be repurposed. You can look around your home, thrift stores, flea markets, garage sales, all kinds of places. Or 2, look at your needs. Do you need a place to store books? Does your child love stuffed animals and they're everywhere and you would like to have them organized somehow? So you could have a look on Pinterest for an upcycling DIY bookshelf or an upcycled DIY stuffed animal organizer. When you see an idea you and your child love, you can do this together and then seek out those materials. I totally prefer the second method because I like to determine a need and then go find the materials. I just don't want to collect a whole bunch of stuff in my home in the hopes that someday I will have a project that will be perfect for it and it won't just sit around and add clutter. Can my child and I do upcycling crafts? Yes, I am of the mind that toilet paper art or paper plate art is not upcycling. However, if you get those toilet paper rolls and you use them, like you put them into soil and then you plant the seeds, like for your tomatoes, your zucchini or whatever, and you use them for seed starter pots, this gives those rolls a practical and needed use. So you're going to be thinking of what is useful in your home and how to artfully and creatively turn something that cannot be used into something that can be. That is the difference between upcycling and just using crap around your house for crafts. I hope that you understand that. So I considered these ideas upcycled crafts. Old clothes or important fabrics made into a really special theme quilt. Like you could do all the baby clothes and then you could just take parts of them and make them into like a memory quilt or something like that. Tin can planners. So you're taking the tin cans, which are total trash, but if you make them into planners, you could make something really pretty out of that. CD spinners, wind chimes. Okay, the list for wind chimes, the material list is endless. You could do anything from silverware to tools or nails or, wood. There's just so many different things you could do. Bird feeders. Again, there's a million bird feeder things out there. Bookshelves, seeded paper, seed starter planners. I already talked about the toilet paper rolls. Old fabrics turned into hair scrunchies. Jewelry, again, the materials can be anything from metal to fabric. I have somebody in my family, like a second cousin, who goes to thrift stores and finds unique buttons, and she turns them into really great necklaces. They're really pretty. Coasters, you see coasters that people put like I'm going to call it clear epoxy because I'm not super crafty, but they put all kinds of stuff that they've put into a really cool collage and they've made it a really pretty art statement. Wedding guest gifts. Okay, I'm talking about this one because this was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. So these people had gone to all kinds of thrift stores and they'd probably been doing it for several years and collecting these, and they found all kinds of interesting brooches. You know, the ones with the pins. They have all these kind of really big brooches, and they took the pins off and then they soldered on like a magnet. And so every place that people were to sit at the table at the reception, there was a nice name and done really elegantly. And then on a magnet on there was the special brooch. Everybody got their own special brooch because they were all unique, because people had been going to these thrift shops to get them. I thought that was the coolest idea ever. So all of these ideas had a definite purpose in their new use. Can my child and I make money with upcycling projects? Upcycling is a super hot trend. People love knowing that they have a useful, beautiful product that gave life to something that was eventually headed to the landfill or a dusty corner in an attic. What is your child's interest and expertise? So start by answering some of these questions and then thinking of projects that people will buy and need. If you have a child who can sew, you can make the quilts, sweaters, coats, skirts, shopping bags, and so much more from old fabrics. I went to one of those markets where you have a whole bunch of vendors that do their own kind of crafts, and this lady made the cutest skirts, and I think they were called upcycled skirts. And they were made from different remnants of fabric, but she had a really great eye for color and pattern, and they all went together. I had to have one of those skirts. It was so pretty. So if you have a child who can do that, then that's a great thing to do. Do you have a creative child who has an eye for textures and balance? You can try something like wind chimes or unusual containers for candles or plants, or create fabric rope for things like headbands, plant hangers, or to hold water bottles. Now this would require a little bit more with like the tools, or to be careful. You probably want an older child. But I have seen a lot of people take wine bottles and they've cut them, and then they've ground down the edges so the edges are super soft. But you have all these wine bottles that, with just the base before it goes into the fluted part. And then they pour natural beeswax candles in there. Those sell for quite a bit, or they do soy candles. And you're using just the wine bottles. If you don't drink but you want to use that idea, bars go through tons of wine bottles and put them in the back. You can just ask them for their wine bottles. One of the best ideas, in my opinion, is to sell gift ideas, because people love to give unique gifts. I love recycled paper with seeds. I have bought these as a business. So you would make the paper from the recycled bin, and then you would seed it. And what you can do is you can have different seed categories, like if they're in the Northwest or the Southeast or whatever. So they would be wildflowers that would grow in that area that you would be selling to. You can shape the paper into certain shapes and sell to the businesses and encourage customer appreciation. Or you could do logo shapes or all kinds of things. Upcycling crafts are a great way to teach children about the importance of reducing waste and caring for the environment. DIY upcycling crafts can turn learning into fun. Remember, the goal of upcycling is to transform old, broken, or unused items into something new and useful. Have fun, get creative, and experiment. The movie quote, "If you're doing something for the right reasons, nothing can stop you." From We Bought a Zoo. If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode. And for that, I want to send you a huge thank you. Please leave me a comment or review and share with other moms you know. Get in touch in the comments or on Kara's social media networks. See you next week for a new episode.